What's going on, guys? It's your boy Ty, and today we are going to be talking about a pretty big rumor that's been spreading the past couple of weeks. That being whether or not George Lucas, believe it or not, is going to be buying Star Wars back from Disney. For those of you that don't know, a little bit over a decade ago, George Lucas actually sold Lucasfilm to Disney for $4 billion. Man, shout out to him. He got paid. That man got paid. Crazy. But with that being said, things have been pretty much a failure the past decade. We'll go over that in a minute. But before I get into all this and whether I actually think this is gonna happen, I just want to say two things quick. First of all, this video is dropping on July 1st, which is tomorrow at the time that I'm recording this, which is my birthday, 21st birthday. Yay! Happy birthday. Whatever. We'll move on from that. It's not about me. Second thing, this is going to be my second video in a row that I'm going to try to do uncut in one take. No cuts, nothing, unedited. So with that being said, guys, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy what I'm going to be talking about today, the points I make, if you guys could drop a like on this video, maybe subscribe if you want to stick around, check out some of my other videos. And also, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments, whether you think this really could be a possibility. With that being said, let's get into things. Before I give my opinion on whether or not I think this actually will happen, because it seems like such a long shot, obviously, because, you know, to be acquiring such a major IP from a company like Disney is already unbelievably hard to do. I know that it's possible probably, but it's just so hard to like comprehend. I mean, that would be game-changing news. But let's just look at why Disney would even be willing to sell Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars is one of the biggest names, if not the biggest household franchise in the world. I mean, even if you just tell somebody Star Wars like an old person, I mean, they'll just know what it is at the bare minimum. So let's look back. So Star Wars was, not Star Wars. Hold on. Lucasfilm was acquired by Disney in 2012, like I said, for $4 billion. So underneath Lucasfilm is both Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Those are kind of like your two major names. Obviously, Indiana Jones hasn't really, had anything come out. Indiana Jones 5 just came out. We'll get to that in a minute, though. But the thing is, since this happened, Disney hasn't actually put out a better Sith than Kathleen Kennedy. For those of you that don't know, Kathleen Kennedy is pretty much the most hated president, CEO, whatever, in all of Hollywood right now. She runs Lucasfilm. She's the president, I believe, is like her official title. She just continues to make bad choice after bad choice, completely disregarding fans. And just to give you guys my perspective, I wouldn't say I'm a diehard Star Wars fan. I definitely am a fan, but I'm the type of fan where, like, honestly, I haven't seen every movie. I haven't seen every show. I will eventually catch up and watch all of them, but I love following Star Wars news because, honestly, it's so interesting with all the, like, mishaps and all the, like, drama that always goes on. I really like Star Wars Theory. Shout out to his channel. He's, like, the biggest Star Wars YouTuber. I kind of just watch him just to keep up with stuff, but, yeah. Going on about what has been going wrong with Star Wars. So like I said, she's just been making bad choice after bad choice for years. She's announcing movies that after like a year, like passed since she's announced it, all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, that movie actually got canceled. It's not happening anymore. I think she announced a movie called like Rogue Squadron or something like that for 2027. Guess what? About a year later or so, I'm kind of just making up a timeline here, it just got canceled. It got scratched off Disney calendar. Why are you getting fans excited for something that isn't even going to be happening? Like, why announce it if you don't have some type of plan or, like, just any idea what you're doing? I think it's, like, the most important thing that we have to reflect on, though, is the actual projects that have came out, because I think that's the real issue here. So, back in 2015, 3 years after this acquisition, The Force Awakens hits the theaters. I mean, this was huge. Star Wars was coming back after the prequel trilogies. This was the first movie, Episode 7, and The Force Awakens actually is one of my favorite movies. Not like top 5, top 10, but it's one of my favorites. I really enjoy it, and I think just as a standalone story, it's really good, and I really like the characters in that. Kylo Ren still, even though I'm just talking about The Force Awakens, throughout all three movies, is actually one of my favorite villains of all time. Not saying he's the best, just one of my favorites. But that movie did really well, and things were actually looking good for Star Wars. But the problem is, there was no plan. For those of you that don't know, the trilogy, like the sequel trilogy, the first movie was written, but they didn't even have a direction or a plan for The Last Jedi or Rise of the Skywalker. They kind of just wrote them as they went. Like, could you imagine setting up a trilogy and just saying, okay, we're just going to write the first movie, make it, then we'll just figure out what we're going to do with the second movie. And that's where a bunch of plot holes come into play, a bunch of plot conveniences, terribly written characters. I mean, guys, off the top of my head, you guys could look up these terms if you're not familiar. I'll try to be as broad as possible, but a lot of things you could look up would be like, they fly now. You could look up how Rey is a Mary Sue. You could look up Finn's sacrifice. You could also look into somehow Palpatine returned. These are just things where, yeah, if you go on like YouTube, there's a ton of videos about them. These are just these unbelievably garbage plot lines and things where just, they don't even make sense. And that's why The Last Jedi and Rise of the Skywalker, I'm going to probably make a video on why the sequel trilogies failed so hard. It's just unbelievable, like, the direction that they were putting this in. I mean, J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson really just did such a terrible job on these movies. The thing is, then with Disney Plus, which, you know, was released, I want to say 2019, maybe wrong. I'm pretty sure it's November 2019. The Mandalorian came out. The Mandalorian was a much needed hit for Disney. I mean, season 1 got so much hype. They sold probably 1 billion toys the past 4 years with Baby Yoda putting his face on everything. I mean, it's literally all you see about Star Wars. But then, with the rest of these shows, season 2, everyone said was like pretty good. By the way, like I said, I haven't seen all the Star Wars shows, but I'm not going to lie, I've probably watched more video essays and just videos on YouTube in general about the shows than the actual like runtime of the shows. So I do have like my information pretty straight. I know I could form my own opinion, but guys, I'm just going to be realistic here with the objective opinion. Mandalorian Season 2, I guess everyone kind of liked, but I saw that Season 3, which just released, was a pretty big disappointment for everybody. The Book of Boba Fett, another show that I literally had no interest in watching after seeing the reviews, looked just garbage. It looked like a character assassination at a certain point because, I don't know. And also, it went like, it tried to like drag The Mandalorian into it because I know The Mandalorian was in a couple of episodes. Basically, they're just trying to capture on that IP and be like, jiggle the keys in front of you and be like, hey guys, look, the Mandalorian's in Boba Fett show. Watch the Boba Fett show. They're basically trying their best to work with a really bad script. Speaking of bad scripts, the show that I did watch, which I literally wasted my life watching, was Obi-Wan. A lot of people defend this show. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know why. It is such a bad script. It is written so poorly. The characters are so awful. Reva, the main Inquisitor, gets stabbed like 6 times in the stomach and somehow she survives. Also, Darth Vader forgives her like 6 times, and he is not a person that gives many second chances out. Also, I think that the final battle that everyone was just hyping up wasn't that good. That might be a bold take. I thought it was okay. I thought the dialogue between Anakin and Obi-Wan was pretty good, but I think everyone kind of overrated it, and I think that it was just so bad. There was like some fight choreography where you could see a bunch of videos on YouTube about this if you look really deep into it, maybe go down the rabbit hole on why Obi-Wan is so bad, because trust me, I've watched a good amount of video essays on this. The fight choreography, there will just be scenes where like you're looking at the background, and when you're actually processing what's going on behind the main characters, it looks like a child did the fight choreography. It's unbelievable. Also, really quick, need to mention this. For those of you that have watched the show, you'll know what I'm saying. There's also a Leia chase scene where basically a 6-year-old girl is outrunning in like this wooden terrain, like woods. She's outrunning like these 3 men because they're trying to chase her to kidnap her. Pretty unrealistic, honestly. And if you watch the scene, you'll see why it's unrealistic. It's completely garbage. From there, though, Disney actually had a hit with Andor. Everyone was kind of like saying, I don't know if this is going to be that good, even though Rogue One was actually pretty much a hit movie. The thing is, a new report came out recently that Andor cost $250 million. There's only one problem. Andor wasn't watched by that many people. It wasn't like the most popular Disney Plus show. $250 million, that's a movie budget. Also, speaking of movie budget, Obi-Wan Kenobi was supposed to be a movie, but they opted to make it a TV show. Why not take that budget from Andor, which, by the way, I watched the first couple of episodes, I'm still watching it. Why not take that budget, and I respect Andor, it really is a great show, and then put it into a movie for Obi-Wan, one of like your main characters. And it would have been much better because the show was not that good, like I said. A lot of almost laughably bad moments in it. I don't know what they're doing. Now they're announcing another Rey movie that might be coming out, whatever, and it's just a complete, utter mess. I mean, there's so much stuff in here that I haven't mentioned. They dropped the Solo, movie, which isn't really, in a trilogy or anything like that, which I think was fine. I haven't seen it, but I'm just talking about just the reviews in general. Rogue One is actually one of my favorite Star Wars movies because that dropped under the Disney regime. I thought that was great. But even looking at the parks, guys, the Star Cruiser Hotel, which cost you $5,000 for 2 nights, just closed. Another Disney Star Wars failure. It's like they just keep piling, and it's like they can't get a penny from their customers if they tried. It's unbelievable. With that being said, too, I think that there's another reason that it makes sense for Disney to sell Star Wars. If we're I got this from Disney Plus because if you go on the interface of Disney Plus, there's 4 tabs. There's Disney, Pixar, Star Wars. Actually, there's 5. Marvel, and then Nat Geo, National Geographic. If we're ignoring National Geographic because that's kind of its own thing. All 4 of these pillars have pretty much been failing recently. Disney, the actual Disney original movies, has been failing so badly, and they've just been scraping the bottom of the barrel just to make live action remakes, sequels. They're doing whatever they can to try to get any type of cash because every movie they've been releasing has been pretty much losing money. Pixar's put out 5 or 6 misses in a row with maybe one good one fit somewhere in the middle. Marvel, I mean, guys, we know what's going on with Marvel. I love Marvel. That's definitely my number one franchise, but guys, Marvel's been on the decline if we're just being realistic. It's almost borderline becoming not profitable, not as profitable as it once was. And now we're at Star Wars. All 4 of its main IPs, all 4 of its main franchises are all losing the money and are all going downhill. What does that mean? If you're losing money on all these, it's time to liquidate some cash. If you're kind of spread thin, you're too oh my God, we don't have enough people. We can't focus on Disney, Pixar, Marvel, and Star Wars all at once. You know what that means? You got to sell one. You got to, first of all, recoup some money, get some funds back. I know that Disney has practically infinite money, but at the same time, guys, they have to be financially responsible to an extent. They have to get some money back. And I think it makes sense because then it's just another thing they don't have to worry about. So with that being said, guys, do I think that Disney will be selling Star Wars back to George Lucas? First of all, if they did, and this really sounds crazy to say, it would definitely be under the $4 billion mark. George Lucas would have essentially resold Star Wars to Disney and profited on it by buying it back from them, which is pretty crazy to say. But there's only one problem, guys. George Lucas is right around, if not 80 years old. Does he really want to be dealing with all this drama with Star Wars? And I know that's his child. Star Wars is his baby. It made him $4 billion plus. I don't know, guys. I'm going to give it, just to give you guys the best way to describe my confidence. I think that there's a 10% chance George Lucas buys back Star Wars from Disney. That might seem low, right? 10% though, if you're spinning a wheel, that's a 1 in 10 chance. That's actually pretty high. In the grand scheme of things, that's a pretty high percentage. If we're just being realistic, okay? But do I really think it's going to happen? I don't know. But at the same time, guys, just being realistic, we could just wake up on a random Tuesday morning and just see George Lucas acquires Disney. And it's sad because, not Disney, Star Wars / Lucasfilm. It's sad because during this tenure, this 11-year tenure, because I think it was 2012 it was acquired, it's just sad because Star Wars has been labeled not even as Star Wars anymore. Its name has been changed. Everyone refers to it as Disney Star Wars. Isn't that sad? No one refers to Marvel as Disney Marvel. It's Disney Star Wars because you see the quality change from before they were acquired to after. With that being said, guys, I think that there's one major change that may be coming, and that is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Why do I bring that up? By the way, I'll be reviewing that soon, but 4th of July weekend's a little bit busy for me, especially with my birthday tomorrow, all that. Kathleen Kennedy cannot afford another loss. She's about to be pushed off the edge, about to be fired. If the Dial of Destiny flops, I think that's going to be the last straw, and she's going to be out. She's going to get fired. That's it. Disney's going to say, we're not playing around anymore. You failed too much. You're done. Because obviously, Indiana Jones, like I said, is under the Lucasfilm brand, and that's under the umbrella of Disney. So, that could turn the tides for the better, but only time will tell, guys. And that's unfortunate because it's pretty sad that all these fans are just sitting here waiting for their favorite brand to be sold back to its original creator. That shows you what a lack of creativity that there is currently at Disney, and just how they're just so money hungry, and it's just unfortunate how much they don't care about the fans because it seems like they barely listen. Thankfully, they've got Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni under their belt, but even a show like The Acolyte, it's rumored to be canceled now. I mean, things aren't looking too hot, and it seems like they're really relying on this Ahsoka show for, things to become a net positive again, if we're just being frank here. Guys, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. And just to be clear, do I think George Lucas is going to acquire Disney? Whoa, why do I keep saying Disney? Do I think George Lucas is going to acquire Star Wars back? The whole Lucasfilm brand that he created, his baby, his genius franchise? I don't know, guys. It's not looking great. But just like the title of his first movie, I have a new hope. Oh, God, it was so corny. I have a new hope from these rumors that maybe the grass will be greener on the other side. With that being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video.
Oh, they fly now! They fly now? They fly now!